Hello everyone, this is another behind the scenes video. This time it is how to draw Elethrion, the main character of the show. I hope you enjoy this little video and learn from my process. Here is how to draw Elethrion's head. The basic shape of his head is a big sausage. You then divide that in the middle and you can find out where to put the nose from that. His ears are the same size of his nose, like I indicate there. And they're also exactly in the middle. Then from the edges of his nose you can put both the eyebrow and the mustache. This gives him this sort of a treasure map X look on his face. And the size of those eyebrows and mustache can vary a little, so don't be too worried about if you make them too long or too short. They just have to stick a little bit out from his head like this. I think this is probably a good shape, a good size of both the mustache and the eyebrows. Then the next step, I normally want to enhance his jaw a little bit, and I do that by cutting a little bit off the forehead as I do here. I do this because I want him to have a bit of a triangle look, because it really sticks his jaw out right here. And it gives him this brute gorilla fighting man look, very strong, and it fits his character really well. Then in the middle and the top of his head, that's where you put the bulge of hair, and everything just goes up to that corner of his head where you have the hairband that goes into his top knot. And then after that you put the neck, which is exactly from the corner of his ears. And I normally do this sort of line on the middle there to indicate the Adam's apple and make his neck look really strong and powerful. The long neck also makes him look more alert and awake, since he isn't the sort of dumb, slow kind of character. He's more the straightforward and a bit simple-minded character. So I think the long neck is good to keep him more awake and not as slow and dumb looking. But that's basically the head. Here is how to draw the whole body of Elethrion. Again, I start out with the simple shapes. His torso is a big square, and the same with his pelvis. The pelvis is just a smaller square. Then you have the sausage again, just above the middle here, this time. And then I do this curvy line here to indicate which way his pelvis is pointing, because that indicates also how the movement of his body is going to be. Then the legs here is just to indicate the proportions and figure out like where they're pointing, what are they doing. The small circles I do is indicating both the elbows and the knees here. When I'm happy with how this looks, I go into the next step, which is the details. It's really important to start out with just the basic shapes and the construction of the character first. Because if you go into the details too early, you might end up killing the movement of the drawing, or your proportions might end up wrong. It's a step where you can still correct your mistakes, because you haven't been drawing it that hard. As you can see, I'm pressing a little bit harder now, since I'm going for the details now and sort of putting things down and letting it kind of locking the character down. So the construction part is a phase where you can go in and sort of feel your way through the drawing before you go in and take the final decisions. Another really important step of the detail part here is finding the overlaps on the character. It's important to let the character be shapes and not outline, and you do that by letting things overlap each other, because then you can see how the shapes connect and not just go directly from one to another. As you can see, the elbow right there goes a little bit out of the shape, but then back into his arm, and it just shows how the elbow is part of a shape, and it's as I said, shapes connecting to each other. And it's the same with the belt there, that it's a bit sticking out of the pelvis, because if I had drawn it just directly inside the shape, it would look like it was a printed thing on the pants, instead of being a new thing on top of it. So that's really important to think about. Here I'm making the knees just a little bit longer, because when doing the details, I could see that I was a bit wrong on my construction. But as I said before, the good thing about the construction is that you press so lightly that you can still fix it a little bit when you go through the detail part. So don't be scared of adjusting things as you go along. Just because you feel like you are done with the construction part, it doesn't mean that it has to be where you put it. The construction is more sort of a phase where you feel the drawing and you sort of play around with the idea of what you want the drawing to end up looking like. Again, another really good overlap there is how the neck goes into the torso. So it connects with the shape instead of being flat on it. Then you can see that his head is a bit in front of his torso. That is the basic steps of going through a drawing. This last one here is just showing how I do it more practically, or when I'm posing the character out in a different way. As you can see here, I'm still indicating with just a few lines and some simple shapes where I want things to be and what is the general shapes and size of things. So finding the right proportions for the character. But you can also see that I'm actually adding some detail as I go here and there, and it's mostly because if I feel like there is a movement that I'm getting from the character, or like an overlap that I think will explain the drawing a bit more, I put it in as I go to test to see if the movement in that way is going to work as I'm thinking it might will. And if I can see that it's going to work, that's when I push a little bit harder and then put the line down. And I think it's important to find your own sort of rhythm with the construction part, because it can easily become very mechanical, or almost like a mathematical task you have to solve. If everything just turns into squares and circles and shapes and sausages, and not really thinking about that it's in the end it has to end up as a character, then you can end up killing the life of that drawing and having it be really stiff. So I think it's important to find your own balance of the construction, but still thinking that it has to end up looking like a character and having the life and expression that a character is supposed to have. So as you can see here, even though I'm not done with positioning everything, I start going in and do the mustache, because I feel that how they position is going to be explaining the drawing a lot. So I think generally the construction phase of the drawing is where you want to explain for yourself what the drawing is going to be, and then when you know that, you can go in and put the more solid lines to finish the drawing up. If you have any questions at all regarding the process, feel free to ask in the comment section and I will do my best to answer. Thank you and have a great day.